Welcome back in. This is the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. T for Temple U, baby. Big game tomorrow, noon in Happy Valley. It's the Owls and the Penn State Nittany Lions. And now joining us trying to make it back-to-back victories against Penn State, that's the head football coach of the Temple Owls in Matt Rhule. Coach, thanks for a few minutes, and how are you?
I'm good, Zach. Thanks for having me on, brother.
Well, thank you for coming on, and we appreciate it. So we've seen your team play twice. They opened up with a tough loss against Army, but then backed it up with a shutout win against Stony Brook. Give me the ups and downs of your team so far through 2 weeks of the college football season.
Well, I think we're a work in progress. You know, we're a defense that didn't play very well the first game. Had difficulty with the option and some of the option plays. I think got back to a more traditional offense last week and got back to sort of playing Temple football, taking the ball away, getting after the quarterback. And so we've done some good things. And on offense, I think we've had flashes of some good things. We've had, some nice runs by Rhule filling in for Jahad. We've had some, big play touchdowns. Keith Kirkwood was obviously a breakout last week. But we haven't gotten the consistency, and we haven't really gotten in the rhythm, that we're looking for. So, it's a mixed bag right now. And, what we're trying to do is kind of weather the storm and get through the early part of the year and try to really develop and get to the point where we are, once again, a really consistent football team that, week in and week out what you're going to get.
Now, everyone's watching your program this year because of the success of last year, and I know you always have had high expectations as the head football coach personally at Temple University, but this year you have a lot of changeover in the roster, and that's just natural when you lose a lot of seniors. That's part of this business. As a head coach, how do you balance the high expectations also with the early growing pains of those guys that have been elevated in terms of playing time that haven't seen that much time last year?
I just think it's always telling the truth and just dealing in the truth. We expect everybody that plays to play at a certain level, to play to our standard. And if they don't, then we just deal with it and talk about it and keep moving forward. We don't panic. We don't start making huge changes. We don't lie to the kids and say, hey, you're doing great when they're not. We just tell them, hey, this is what you're doing well. This is what you're not doing well. This is how we move forward. And I thought we got better from week 1 to week 2. And now from week 2 to week 3, we'll see where we are. We'll see today, tomorrow how we look and if we've made any progress. And if you keep doing that, by the time you hit the conference and by the time you hit, the end of the season, you hope that you have a really, really good team that's hard to beat.
Now, Matt, I was perusing Twitter this morning, and I searched the name Jahad Thomas, and I saw a fan write, I'm going to church today to pray that Jahad Thomas does play tomorrow. Will your star running back make the trip, and what's his status for tomorrow against Penn State?
Yeah, he's making the trip, and we're hopeful he'll play. And, we think that obviously the other guys have done a really nice job of filling in, and they've proven that, hey, you know what, they're ready for the challenge, especially as young kids. Isaiah Wright is a true freshman, Rhule is a true sophomore. But we would love nothing more than to have Jahad out there. And, what we haven't had in the run game is a big play. We've had a lot of consistent runs, but we haven't had the big play in the running game. And, once you get 1 or 2 of those, it starts to come and it starts to change. And, it starts to change the momentum of games. And we think that's what Jahad will bring us, if and when he's able to go.
You hope that he's able to play, but is it just a wait-and-see approach until tomorrow, and then you won't find out maybe a few hours before the game if he's ready to go?
Yeah, I'm going to the game, thinking, hey, he's going to play, and just understanding that, he got whatever banged up or whatever happened to him on Tuesday. He had to leave the field, and so, even if he plays, it's, is his thumb going to stay in place and all that. So I know if he can play, he will play. So we like as always, we prepare with all contingencies. We're down Ventel Bryant, probably our most accomplished wide receiver, and you don't talk about it. You just keep moving forward and get the other guys ready. So. The good news is we're getting a lot of experience while these guys have been banged up. And when you get Colin Thompson back, Jacob Martin back, Ventel Bryant back, Jahad Thomas back, you think you're going to have a really good team because there's a lot of depth been built underneath those guys.
With Jahad, he had his breakout game last year against Penn State, and up until that point, he had no statistical success at Temple, and he ended up putting up 17 touchdowns on the ground last year. When a kid has that much success just right in one season, I wonder how his attitude just changed. And as a coach, it's your job to make sure he doesn't get complacent. Now, we haven't seen him this year because of the injury, but how has Jahad's attitude been in the offseason?
Unreal. His attitude's been great. He's a guy that, I trust and believe in, and his work ethic has just gotten better and better and better over the years. Like, he wanted to develop himself into a punt returner this offseason, so he did it, man. He wanted to develop himself as a receiver, so he did it. So I think he's a really mature kid and a really, really good football player that wants to get better every day.
Wrapping up with Matt Rhule, who joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. What is a very busy day for him as he prepares for Penn State tomorrow. That kickoff is at noon. Give me the keys to beating Penn State. What does your team have to do right if you're going to want to walk out with the victory like you guys did last year?
Well, I think there's a couple. We have to win the turnover battle. We can't turn the ball over. We gave it away 3 times in the first game. We lost. We took it away 3 times in the last game. We won. So we have to win the turnover battle. We have to limit Saquon Barkley. He's a fantastic football player. We have to limit the big play on defense. We can't just let them, throw 80-yard touchdowns over our heads. And then on offense, we have to find a way to run the football. We have to convert on third down. So, if you can stay on the field by not turning the ball over and converting on third down, if you can run the ball and try to control the line of scrimmage, and then on defense, if you don't give up big plays, then you have a chance to win every game. And that would never be more relevant than in this game going into a hostile environment.
I know you've been pumping in the crowd noise in practice, and that is a big thing when you go up to Happy Valley is the crowd noise with how much of a raucous atmosphere it is up there in Happy Valley at Penn State. You guys, under your tutelage, have not been a strong starting team in the first quarter. How big is it tomorrow to get on the board early to maybe quiet some of those Penn State fans?
Well, it would be great. We would love it. As you said, we're not, we're really not wired that way. We're really a defensive football team, right? So the strong starts for us is not being down 17-0. Strong, so we think of it in maybe a different way. But if we could score early, if we can score on our first few drives like we did, really the last 2 weeks, we scored on our second drive in the last 2 weeks. So if we can do that early, obviously that would be great. But I think Penn State proved last week they were down, at the half, and they were down 28-7 at one point. They kept fighting back. So we know they're going to fight back. We know we're going to fight back. And last year it was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter, and we're really hopeful we can have it kind of be the same way and see if we can't just try to make one more play than they make in the fourth quarter.
Now, Matt, before we let you run, and this is going to be a tough one because of the big impact that Joe Paterno played on your life being a football player under the head coach in Joe Paterno, but this is the first time this weekend since the alleged involvement of Joe Paterno in the cover-up of Jerry Sandusky that Penn State is going to be honoring him, and that's going to be before the game this weekend. Me personally, I don't agree with the decision, but as a Penn Stater and that being your alma mater, where do you stand on this of Penn State honoring Joe Paterno this weekend in Happy Valley?
Well, I don't know that I stand anywhere, other than, they're honoring him tomorrow, and I'm, excited to see all the guys I played with if there's anybody around. For me, as a coach, the real tribute is not what statues, what people say about you afterwards. It's the impact you have on the players that played for you. And so, Coach Paterno was a guy that gave me a shot, gave me an opportunity as a walk-on, gave me an opportunity to get on the field. So I'll forever be grateful for the things that he did for me personally, as would anybody else. And so, to me, when I see all those former players, I see the guys that have gone on to be lawyers and doctors and great fathers, coaches, actors and musicians and pillars of their community. To me, that's the only tribute that Joe probably ever needed, ever wanted. It's just the guys that played for him. So everything else to me is just, it's just temporary. Right? It's just, statues melt, but the impact you have on people's lives are really what matters. And for me, Joe Paterno had a great impact on my life. He gave me an opportunity. So for that, I'll always be grateful to him, to his family, to his kids. Beyond that, I can't think about anything else other than just what he did for me, and that's what being at that thing tomorrow on the field, whatever they're doing. I don't really know what they're doing, but whatever they're doing, that's what I'll think about is what Coach Paterno did for me personally and for my family.
Well, Matt, we appreciate the time. Best of luck tomorrow.
Thanks, brother.